Hello, I'm Jerome Osentowski, Director of the Central Rocky Mountain Permaculture Institute. And we're just going to tell you a little bit about what's happening here. It's a later part of November, and we've just had a fresh snowfall. We've spread a lot of leaves around underneath our forest garden. This is a plum tree. Right here is a really nice dancing plum, and this is a Macintosh apple. And there's a whole guild system under here with medicinal plants and culinary herbs and nitrogen-fixing plants. There's a grape and a Siberian pea shrub over there. And every fall we put a certain amount of leaves down on top of the mulch that has been accumulating there for years and from the previous spring. We're going to add a few more willow leaves here to the mix. Now these is either willow or maple. And then this will help actually this first snow melt and give it a little more insulation. Give all of these trees a little more insulation so that the worms and the microbes will continue all winter long. Really, there's no end and no beginning in this situation here where the soil building goes throughout the year. It never really stops. And the nice part about this is it's all free material that you can pick up in town. Let's go inside and see what we're doing in Phoenix right now to get the feeling that you can actually garden year-round. We're in the west end of the Phoenix greenhouse at Central Rocky Mountain Permaculture. And last year in January we planted all of this stuff from 10-gallon pots, and some of it wasn't even as big as this. This goes in another greenhouse. But we have citrus here, and you saw the passion fruit and the papayas back there. This is the pigeon pea and leucaena behind there. Citrus, banana. This is a purple lab. There are a couple of jujubes hanging out back in there. And then over here we have olive, lemongrass, and more bananas. So this was an annuals for a year, and then it was taken out, the perennials were put in, and it takes almost a year to get it to this stage. It's by no means finished. This is all just a process. These are mostly pioneer species, banana and papaya, and some citrus. There's guava. So there will be another generation of plants that will supersede this, a more permanent overstory of fruiting papayas, not papayas, but mangoes and avocados and other kinds of tropical fruits. So we're just in the process of converting the east side from annuals. We're just doing some sheet mulching today. We took out a large tomato, and let's go over and finish up that little project. So we were lucky enough to get some willow leaves. This will be one layer of our sheet mulch. There's already been some material put down. And then Caitlin will put a layer of horse manure on top of that. This area grew cucumbers and some other annual vegetables in here. There was a huge tree tomato in here, a big cherry tomato that was as large as this one, or even larger, and it was blocking the light that we need to get into the Pebble Beach area where there's a lot of thermal mass. So we needed to cycle out of that particular crop and get into something low-lying right here that won't eventually shade out our thermal mass back there. So that's always a concern of having plants positioned in certain places in the greenhouse. You just don't want to be blocking the light for other plants behind them, so you kind of stage them, stack them. Manure on here. What's next?
Any worms?
Yeah, let's put some worms on.
These are from the worm farms.
Now, there's probably some worms down in here, but you might as well amp it up a little bit. Get a few more. And I think we've already put some ashes. We're not going to put any ashes down here right now. Let's just put some more coffee grounds on.
Coffee.
You can just put those fillers down because they're organic.
There's some tea in there.
Yeah, there's some tea and coffee. And then let's put a bit of humic acid down and some microbes. Okay. And that's just another kind of a starter to make sure that there's enough microbes in here. Humic acid also just helps all this stuff break down a little bit. And the worms are going to do all the digesting for us. And then let's put another layer of leaves on top of that.
Okay.
I've got some right here.
All right.
And the willow leaves have a growth rooting hormone in them, so that they're one of the more advantageous leaves to use in here. You can also actually make a tea out of them and use it as a transplanting solution, whatever. So if we walk down here, we can see that we taken this whole area and opened it up. So when the sun comes in, it's going to be shining on this thermal mass. Over on that, we actually had to trellis the passion fruit up and get it out of the way because it was encroaching on. Those two flower towers will get out of there, and we'll make a nice trellis on the back of that bench. And so it's like fine tuning. The first year, annuals go in, and you can grow those for a year, and then that gives you time to kind of really look at the space and grow out your tropicals and your Mediterraneans in a nursery, and then gradually ease into a perennial tropical or Mediterranean polyculture. So every year we build soils like this, either by adding mulch or doing sheet mulching. So while we're waiting for this area to get transformed into the next generation of perennial plants, we also can have another trap crop, or catch crop as we call it, of annual vegetables. That's what we did last year when we planted out our tropicals. So we can grow kohlrabi, squash, even artichokes underneath, broccoli and kohlrabi as well, and cauliflower as a short season, winter season cold crop. That'll give us a lot of food for the kitchen and some things to trade. All the while that the avocados are starting to mature. It'll take a year or so for those things to start shading out this area. We can also put in fava beans. We've already put in some pole beans and some peas. all the cold living. We also have some lamb's quarters that we transplanted from outside in one of our 72-foot bed squares here, and put in a few chard and perennial spinach. There's a bit of spilanthes here that were growing for a while. This might phase out, and we'll transplant that into more lettuces and cold crops in a month or so. So this whole area here will be either root vegetables or salad greens for the winter. Well, this will have other kinds of cold crops and perennial polycultures as sort of what we call stream of consciousness gardening. So you really don't have, there's no end point. It's like a big ball of twine all raveled up, and it just keeps, you just keep putting another layer of twine on it, and just, this is another layer of twine. So they put another layer of mulch, they put some other plants in there, and they just keep spiraling. So we can start planting right into these layers of sheet mulch right away. You can add a little bit of compost or something like that, just buffer a little bit. And we're going to be planting spilanthes from 1 gallon here. What's good about the spilanthes is that not only is it a medicinal plant, but it's one of our insectivorous plants. So with all these flowers coming on consecutively, as we pick them for tincturing, but then we, the next generation will come in and harbor the beneficial insects, the small beneficial wasps. And remember, we put in manure, leaves, and even some ashes and coffee grounds, stable cleanings. Now, just to help those flowers out a little bit, we can plant some nitrogen fixing edible plants around them. Let's put a few fava beans. And then, broccoli or cauliflower will go there, so we just kind of stage that in here. So both of alyssum and cauliflower broccoli will be getting nitrogen from the fava beans, and we'll also be getting beans from the fava beans to eat. So there's a nice combination of just kind of like a row of fava beans right here.